Hello, everybody. So nice to see you all. Yes, welcome back to the European Soccer Show here with Sports Talk United, and with me, fresh from his visit to the Lyon Paris Saint-Germain as an esteemed guest of one of the sponsors. It's Leo. Hello, Leo.
Hey Daniel, how are you?
Oh, I'm terrible. I've been sick as a dog this weekend.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
it looked like you had having the time of your life apart from the result. How was the match? How was the experience?
Yeah, it was the first time for me to be like a VIP in a stadium. The first time I went to a stadium with how a costume and approaching the players as close as I did, like 30, 40 centimeters away from them. Extraordinary, to be honest.
That's a very specific amount. That's a
Yeah,
school ruler.
yeah. I took
That
mine.
close. That seems too close, actually. Now I think
Yeah.
about it. Like, I think, Leo, you won't be invited back. Right. Okay. Well, let's dive right into it because obviously we're a day or so late. It's just so difficult getting hold of Leo these days. He's so popular. As we have the chat of Ligue 1, let's start there. Let's start in France. So on Friday, Paris FC lost at home 1-0 to Rennes. On Saturday, Marseille defeated Brest 3-0, a triple over the Brests. Le Havre drew 1-1 at home to Nantes in a relegation battle. Monaco continued to confuse and befuddle and enrage as they lost at home 4-1 against surprised title challengers Lens. And then on Sunday, Lorient and Toulouse drew 1-1. Angers defeated Auxerre 2-0 at home. Metz, my God, Metz, there's something happened to them. 3 wins on the bounce, defeating what was a pretty good Nice side, 2-1. Strasbourg defeated Lille 2-0. And of course, the big finale, Lyon 2, Paris Saint-Germain 3. Well, I think we'll end on that incredible match at that one. But we're actually going to start. We're going to start looking at. I just realised the running order. I just did a different order. I'll go back to that later. We'll start with Monaco against Lens. So a quick look at the table. Paris Saint-Germain are top on 27 points. Marseille are second on 25. And Lens are third on 25. So the first question to put your way, Leo. Lens winning 4-1 at Monaco. How good are Lens? Why? And are they legitimate challengers?
Lens, or Lens in French, they changed their manager this summer. They took Pierre Sage, who previously been to Lyon, to save them from.
Oh, pause 1 second. You've muted. So I suppose I'll take over from there. Yes, I think the English translation is Stonewise?
Yeah, Stonewise. But it doesn't mean anything to be. I don't know. But even
anyway,
France,
we can hear you again. Please go back. Please tell us about Lens.
So yeah, Lens. They are a team 6 years ago. They were in League 2, so in the second tier of French football. They went up thanks to the COVID, and then they are just increased their level of performances. They have been playing in the Champions League, defeating Arsenal 2 seasons ago, and today they are third in the league. They just work very well as a club because they lost important players through the transfer window. We can think about Kusanov going to Manchester City, Kevin Danso to Tottenham, and they managed to replace their loss every time, and again, and to perform in Ligue 1. Today, they are, as I said, third in the table. They beat Monaco 4-1 this weekend. Have been impressive since the start of the season. And can they be a real contender for the title. It's hard to say because, of course, PSG are the real favorite. But from I don't know 12 or 13 match day now, they've been great and they deserve to be that up in the table. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so exciting. So I have written down. So in the last 6 matches in League 1, no team has taken more points than Lens. So they've taken 15 points from a possible 18, which is remarkable, really, because they have had
Yeah.
some difficult fixtures in that.
Yeah.
Looking down the list, I think second best is actually Marseille on 13 and Paris Saint-Germain on 12. But I'll tell you what, Mets aren't far behind now, are they? But yeah, so it isn't just a little. It seems like they started the season well, but it does seem that they have actually been improving as they've gone along.
Yeah, and even if you talk about the first game of their season, which was a defeat to Lyon, the result was very positive for Lyon because when you watched the game, Lens dominated. They created opportunities, but they just didn't seize them. And today they are able to score a lot of goals. We can talk about how is the name? Sorry. Oh, Hudson Edward from the French striker previously at Crystal Palace. He had a
And
terrible
Celtic, I believe.
year.
I think
Yeah,
that's why he blew up. He blew up really, didn't he? When he was an incredible top goal scorer in Scotland.
yeah, yeah. He had a terrible last 12, 18 months, scoring just a few goals. And now he's on a 5 goal streak in his last 6 games. They got real assets forward and backwards, which obviously help them to win those games and important games because as you said, they won against Marseille, they won against Monaco. They have been brilliant these past weeks.
Long way to continue. A quick word on Monaco. Have they replaced Nice as the most chaotic team in Ligue 1?
They have, but for many seasons now. When the seasons start with Monaco, you always know that they will fall apart at some times. But usually, they do it in the second part of the season from January, and yeah, they have been terrible this past week, even
Sorry
with
to interrupt. So
the
for
yeah,
context for anybody who wasn't aware, so the Monaco Lens game, I believe it was 2-1 to Lens just before half time when the Monaco striker Florian Balogun was sent off for a
yeah,
straight red, which of course killed the game, and then Lens took their time. Well, I say took their time. They actually scored in stoppage time in the first half as well. So obviously, long way back for Monaco from that point. But this is a long string of results where it's not only underwhelming but concerning in regards to discipline, in regards to defensive stability, and so on. I mean, they conceded 3
yeah,
goals. Did they concede 3 goals against Nantes a couple of weeks ago?
yeah. When they beat Nantes
Yeah.
4-3
Last week.
away.
2 weeks.
Monaco is difficult to explain. Just to have this word about their last game this weekend. It was also a game marked by controversy surrounding the referee's decision because you've mentioned that Folarin Balogun had been sent off, but he was then awarded a penalty earlier in the game, and it was already discussed. His red card, to be honest, um, isn't fair at all because maybe it was not even a fault, but this match day in Liga had been marked by the controversies as usual, unfortunately, but that don't explain everything for Monaco to be that bad.
So I mentioned before that Lens have won 5 of their last 6, and of course the one match that they didn't win was when they lost at Metz. So a quick word on Metz: 3 wins on the bounce. So for context, they are now. I mean, they are outside the relegation zone by a point. So down at the bottom, it's Auxerre on 7, Lorient, Nantes, Brest are all on 10, a perfect 10 for Brest. But Metz are on 11. So it also speaks volumes about just how far behind they were, because 3 wins on the bounce and they're only just out of the relegation zone. So it's, I mean, also incredible for them, and how wonderful that they could stay competitive rather than get cut adrift. But again, speaks volumes about these gaps that are now appearing in the season.
Yeah, I wrote an article, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, about the possibility for them to stay in Liga, and it was like that because only 2 teams had less as many points as them after 10 match days, and what they did against Lens, because their first win of the season was against Lens, it was great, and I think it started something, because beating one of the most informed teams in Liga in front of your fans, obviously it helped to start something, and then they beat Nantes away.
Also,
With
and again, we
2
should
goals.
point out in both matches they had late goals, right? So that's
Yeah,
the other thing. They had late goals.
yeah,
Here, they had to come from behind again. So it really does speak volumes about determination and stamina, and
yeah, and the
the
fact that
fighting for the entire match.
yeah, and the fact that they didn't give up on their coach, which is important in their situation. So it's a great streak for them, and the international break will allow us to work more in sort of winning the next games.
And finally, before we depart Ligue 1, a word on, well, I say a word, let's give you a minute. Lyon and Paris Saint-Germain, an incredible match, incredible goals. Zaire Emery's effort, Maitland-Niles' effort. There was a red card in stoppage time for Taliafico. João Neves with a bullet header deep in stoppage time to win it at the death. I mean, this game had everything, didn't it?
Yeah, it was obviously the big game of the week, one of the biggest of in Ligue 1. The Groupama Stadium was full. It was 58 people in it, a record attendance for the stadium. What a game, to be honest. Even if, of course, both teams had injured players, we will not come back on Dembele, Doué, absence, and some other players' lack of form. Lyon played without Tolisso in the starting lineup, which is, I think, not only the best player but the most important in the system. And yeah, it was an exceptional game. Once again, marred by refereeing controversy. For example, the goal from Gvicha Kvaratskhelia, who was the second of the night for PSG, was, I think you have the same thing in England, but it's the PGMOL, if I'm not mistaken, and the French version said that the goal shouldn't have been allowed because of a fault, and there were a lot of controversies during this game, but Paris still won it. I think a draw would have been well deserved for Lyon, and we must note that Paulo Fonseca's work, given the squad and the strength he can use, it's great, because Lyon didn't recruited big players this summer. They lost some, as Ryan Cherki, Alexandre Lacazette, Lucas Perry going to Leeds, and they play really good. They are now seventh in the table, but just 5 points away from the second spot. So we just have to applaud Fonseca's work.
Absolutely, but also just to keep note of the fact that Paris Saint-Germain have dropped 6 points in their last 6 games and yet still sit atop by 2 points. see the teams around them still like sort of not quite grasping the opportunities that are coming their way.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Premier League. I'll switch those two on the running order. The Premier League. So there are some big moments in this weekend. So first game on Saturday, Tottenham Hotspur 2, Manchester United 2. Manchester United seemingly cruising for victory. And then Tottenham somehow came back and scored in the 84th minute in stoppage time to take the lead. And then Man United equalised again. So somehow both teams were disappointed to end with a draw. Fulham's terrible form continues, losing 2-0 at Everton. West Ham United's resurgence, 2 wins on the bounce, winning 3-2 at home to relegation rivals Burnley. Sunderland's astonishing start to the season continues. Apart from anything else, they scored against Arsenal. No one's done that for a good long time.
And twice.
2-2 against the league leaders. Chelsea beat Wolves 3-0, but that's probably taken now these days. And on Sunday, Aston Villa completely spanked Bournemouth 4-0, despite the fact that they had less XG. Brentford demolished Newcastle United, whose away days really are grey. Crystal Palace 0, Brighton 0. That happened. Nottingham Forest defeated Leeds United 3-1. Another relegation battle between the two, and Forest coming out on the good. And the last game, an astonishing victory for Manchester City as they defeated Liverpool 3-0. So let's quick look on the Spurs-Manchester United game. It was quite unusual because Manchester United were dominant essentially until the last 10 minutes. And yet somehow, I suppose we need to cut this up. So let's talk about this part first. The fact that Thomas Frank, when he made his substitutions in the second half, were roundly booed by the home crowd. Did he make the right choices? Were his substitutions the reason why Spurs got something from this game?
I think he was right to make the substitutions because Matisse Tel and Odobert both proved decisive. So it shows that his substitutions worked. But as you said, I think Manchester United were dominant, and the draw is really deserved. It wasn't a great Premier League game, apart from the final 10-15 minutes. And the Ligt goal, who has been fairly consistent this season, one of the few players of Manchester United to have been consistently since the first match day. So it was really deserved, and I think Frank's substitutions, as you asked, were good.
So then after that, Matisse Tel getting a goal in the 84th minute, Richarlison giving them the lead in the first minute stoppage time, and suddenly Tottenham Hotspur had the lead. They had the momentum. They had the crowd behind them, possibly for the first time that day. Manchester United were down to 10 men after Benjamin Šeško, who did not have a good game, went off injured. And yet Manchester United equalised in the 6th minute of stoppage time, I think it was. Matthias de Ligt with a header from the corner. It's an interesting question, but who would be the more disappointed of the two? Because obviously Spurs being so awful for so much of the game, and yet leading at the end against 10 men, you expect them to close that out. Whereas Manchester United somehow let Tottenham Hotspur back into the game despite dominating for 80-something minutes. So which of the two? Which do you think of the two should be more unhappy?
I think Manchester United, because Tottenham, when Richarlison scored their second goal, they were fortunate to be leading against them, and then Manchester United would have deserved a win, even if the draw is a good result for them, because playing away at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is, of course, difficult. Playing against Tottenham is also, but yeah, I think they can have some regrets. And if I can just have a word on Bryan Mbeumo, because he's been astonishing this season at Manchester United in their context. And I don't think it's a coincidence if when you watch Manchester United or just think about them, Mbeumo's pictures are the ones we remember the most from their season, because he's always in the right place and always making the right move. We've seen it against Tottenham with his goal. He's really positive, a positive element, one of their best recruitment in the last few years, I think. And not only on the pitch, but also off. We can read a lot of things about him, very positive in the dressing room with his partners. So great, great.
So let's look at another match. We're going to go over to well, let's talk about the last one, Manchester City Liverpool. I think because there's been a small reaction from Liverpool, especially after defeating Real Madrid in the Champions League. I think people thought that Liverpool had maybe righted the ship slightly. Perhaps there was, again, a bit of momentum, a bit of belief. But Manchester City absolutely destroyed them. There was a controversial goal disallowed from Virgil van Dijk from a header from a corner. The linesman ruling that Andy Robertson was playing was involved, was distracting the goalkeeper, and was then ruled off for offside. And obviously, PGMOL since afterwards has said that perhaps that shouldn't have been the way. However, there's no taking away from Manchester City. They were by far the better team, weren't they?
Yeah, I think. But I have a question for you. Do you think Van Dijk's goal should have been allowed?
Honestly, no. The reason I say that is because the thing is, I would probably accept it either way. It's one of those where it's because he's not in the direct eye line of the goalkeeper, it's hard to argue that he's having an impact. But of course, there is that thing of the goalkeeper instinctively doesn't know if that's going to deflect. It might alter something. However, Donnarumma does dive immediately after Virgil van Dijk heads it, so it doesn't seem like it would change anything. So had it been ruled allowed, it would have been absolutely fine for me. No worries, I understand why. But since they're saying, okay, well, he's distracting, I'll also buy it. I think the big thing is when does the goalkeeper jump? If does he stray at all from after Van Dijk heads the ball? No, he doesn't. Then it's probably not interfering. But like I say, I don't actually care.
But it's a tough decision because, in my opinion, it obviously had an impact of the scenario of the game, because City, even though they were the better side of the 90 minutes, we both agree with that, and I think everybody is watching the game will agree. It would have allowed Liverpool to equalize in this game. So maybe the momentum could have changed, because it's not the same thing to be trailing 2-0 than to be equalizing away at the Etihad Stadium.
Well, it's interesting because, again, it's the eye test, right? The difference between statistics and the eye test. The statistics will tell us that Manchester City were the better side, but the eye test tells us that Liverpool, I think the word thrown around currently is bullied. They were bullied by Manchester City. They didn't seem to have any control at all. It was fascinating. Although there was an element of luck with, I think all the goals. Erling Haaland, who missed a penalty early on, he scores from a header after Konate heads the ball onto his face and it goes in. It's instinctive, but it is a bit lucky. Nico Gonzalez's shot from outside the box took a deflection. That's lucky. Jeremy Doku, it's a wonderful strike, and that can happen with world-class players. Well, is he world-class player? Maybe not. But they can, good players can always pull that out of the bag, right? So you could have said okay, well, actually, they've been a bit unfortunate in all of the goals. But when you have that many instances of okay, well, if you're going to allow them to have a shot and Haaland to have a header and this, that, and the other, at some point, luck is going to turn against you. It just so happened that it was all of them,
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. Before we move on away from the Premier League, so just a quick look at the table. So Arsenal are on 26 points, Manchester City 22, Chelsea 20. And then I'm going to just read out a list, okay? Sunderland, Spurs, Villa, Man United, Liverpool, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Brighton, Brentford. All of those teams are separated by 3 points.
Yeah, that's
it's
cool.
Insane. I love how congested it is in the middle, which means, so By the way, I know the stat of the weekend comes at the end, but my favorite thing I learned was Liverpool are as close to Arsenal as they are the relegation zone. And it got me thinking. So they're 8 points behind Arsenal and 8 points ahead of Burnley in West Ham in 18th place. But then if you
which is terrible.
Yes, it is. But also, like when you make that comparison with other teams, for example, Everton, right? Everton are 13th? They're 13th, but they are as far away from relegation as they are from Champions League football. So it's this interesting thing of anybody in that pack essentially. Well, to a certain point, some of them could still get sucked into the relegation battle, but also you can aim a bit higher. Suddenly it's like, oh, actually, that's in touching distance. So it's at no point it's like normally at this point of the season, like, okay, what are we aiming for? Okay, so we're in about this point, we can try and push for Europe, or we just want to make sure we stay away from relegation, or what could we do? And here, there's a good 9 teams, 10 teams who have literally no idea what they could possibly what they're meant to be looking for. Because, for example, in other years, Sunderland start, being 4th place, 19 points. And obviously, all of us say like, oh, no. You say like, no, survival is the only thing. But other teams in that position would be hoping to try and squeeze the last European place, So what possibly can Sunderland achieve? It's a fascinating year. What's been your favourite surprise of the Premier League season so far? It could be like as a team doing badly or a team doing well, but what's been your favourite sort of unexpected team?
I think it's difficult to not answer Sunderland because we know that often in the Premier League when the promoted team struggle to stay in the Premier League, and now we have a team 4th in the table. It's sensational, and of course, if Sunderland is are known for their French players and coach because Regis Lebris is French, so maybe a little how can I can be proud of that team and the French and its French identity. So yeah, Sunderland have been really good.
Yes, the Le Chat Noir. Anyway, so going on to La Liga, let's talk about La Liga. Again, excellent weekend in La Liga. On Friday, Elche drew against Real Sociedad 1-1. Another late goal for Sociedad.
Yeah.
Can't say it today. Saturday, a precious win for Girona, 1-0 against Alaves. Sevilla defeated Osasuna 1-0. Atletico Madrid beats Levante 3-1 at home. Espanyol lost at home to Villarreal 2-0, who again, Villarreal very much the 4th team in this title race so far. And then on Sunday, Athletic Club's rebuild continues, beating Real Oviedo 1-0. Ironically, the result of the weekend, Rayo Vallecano 0, Real Madrid 0. Vallecano managing to pull a draw, and a well-deserved draw, possibly actually with a better team against Real Madrid. Mallorca defeated Getafe 1-0. Valencia and Real Betis drew 1-1. And the last game, it does seem to be the last game of the weekend, a bit this donkers. Celta Vigo 2, Barcelona 4. Let's start with that one. Possibly because it's by far the most entertaining. An incredible match, a real test for Barcelona. And one they came through. They had to show some real backbone. They had to show some spirit in order to get over the line against Celta Vigo.
Yeah, it has always been difficult for Barcelona to win at Balaidos, Celta Vigo Stadium, and they made it with style this weekend. And the good point of this game is to show that the return of injured players, because Lewandowski, of course, was injured and he scored a hat trick against Vigo. It will be beneficial for them. They will also have Rafinha back in the next few weeks. Joan Garcia, their goalkeeper. It will obviously help them, and Pedri also, because he's been missing for now a few weeks. So it's important for them to see that their injured player will play a big role in their second part of the season.
Do you think it contributed to having Lewandowski back, having such an experienced, calm, composed head in this kind of, because this was a bit chaotic. So Lewandowski opened the scoring in the 10th minute, and then Carrera equalised a minute later. Fast forward towards the end of the first half, like the 37th minute, Lewandowski took the lead again. Then is it Borja Iglesias equalised on just before half time. But then Lamine Yamal extended the lead 4 minutes into stoppage time, and then half time 3-2. That's a chaotic first half, and yet they edged it. And then in the second half, a lot more control, a lot more calm. Lewandowski completed his hat trick with a gorgeous Marcus Rashford cross, and
one more.
Yeah, I suppose maybe that downside really was that Frankie de Jong didn't quite show the composure that Lewandowski had, because obviously he got picked up a second yellow card deep into stoppage time, which was unnecessary, and now he's suspended. Do you think actually the experience of Lewandowski showed why it's so essential in this team, having someone of that caliber and that experience?
Yeah, of course, having such a player and such a striker, he's in the and he's surely in the top 3 strikers in the world this past years. So it's obviously a great thing for them, especially since it was Ferran Torres who were his backup during these weeks. Of course, it will help Barcelona. And you've mentioned Marcus Rashford and his cross, and I just want to have a word on him, because if you follow the news about Barcelona and read or hear broadcast about them, you can hear there are a lot of criticisms about his involvement without the ball, maybe his runs, maybe his form, but it has to be said that he's been impressive since joining. He has now 6 goals. Yeah, 6 goals and 9 assists.
So I was going to say, like, he has the most goal involvements for the Barcelona side, which is astonishing, actually, when you say it like that. Now, Lamine Yamal has been injured for a part of this, so he's played fewer minutes. So in regards to minutes per goal involvement, Lamine Yamal has a goal involvement every 80 minutes. Lewandowski 82, and Rashford I think is 87.
Yeah.
But still, the fact is, like, 6 goals, 7 assists, and I think not enough credit is given him for his assists, because it does seem like he's perhaps one of the reasons why he wasn't looking quite so good at Manchester United in the last couple of seasons was that there wasn't anybody on his wavelength, and it seems like he was surrounded by players who are on the same wavelength as he is, and therefore bringing out his creative side.
Yeah, and I think in the context at Barcelona, his decisive aspect, you mentioned goals, assists, they were important because they lacked a lot of their players. We've talked about Lewandowski, Rafinha, who scored 60 goals and assists last season. So I think the main point with him was for him to be decisive and ready to play for Barcelona. And in such a big club, I think he will just improve. And maybe he will stay at the club at the end of the season, because there is a special clause in his contract for 30 million.
An optional fee, but it is shockingly low, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in euros or in pounds, but 35 million for a player like Marcus Rashford. We all know how talented he is. He's still young for a player, so he can be.
And also, we should point out that actually the next question I was going to ask, but I think you may have just answered it. The next question I was going to ask was because obviously Lewandowski is at the end of his contract this season. Do you think there was much prospect of them giving him another year extension, considering he is still contributing? However, he is on such significant wage that actually getting him off the books would probably be beneficial. And then also, if you did want to bring in Marcus Rashford, you kind of would only be able to afford the wages of one of them.
Yeah. I think
quick word. Sorry to move things along because obviously, time. Quick word on Real Madrid's draw at Rayo Vallecano, 0-0. Quite flat, quite stodgy. But Rayo Vallecano, they played well, they defended brilliantly, but they seemed to look better than Real Madrid. Did you see the highlights? Did you see what was your thoughts on what was happening?
I didn't watch the game to be honest, but it can be explained with the situation, the internal situation at Real Madrid, because there are rumors of internal crisis at the moment involving Xabi Alonso, who could be struggling to manage with egos of the players. We've talked previously about the contract extensions issues with Vinicius being out of contract in 2027, attracting interest from Saudi Arabia, maybe a move to Premier League. So I think the context and the environment of Real Madrid isn't the healthiest ever and possible for them. And even if they got some good results this season, obviously they are a leader in La Liga. They had some wins in the Champions League, but there have been few hiccups in the big games apart from the Clásico. We all remember the 5-2 against Atletico in the derby. They lost to Liverpool in the Champions League. So there is, I think, last week we've talked about the possible Mbappe dependence because he's like the sole goal scorer in that team. And when
Although to jump on that point, one of the things that's been thrown at, say, Manchester City is that they've now adopted a system that gets the most out of Haaland, and if you have a world-class striker, use him. Is it fair to therefore sort of compare the two regards they have one of the world's best strikers, so why not focus it around him? And actually, this goes around to the question I was going to ask before, because obviously it was only this time last year that Vinicius Junior was, furious that he hadn't won the Ballon d'Or and was regarded as the second best player in the world, or arguably the best player in the world. And yet now he's struggling to get game time at Real Madrid regarding his over his contract situation, but also does he fit in the style with Xabi Alonso? So it seems strange what's happened. So if hypothetically, if you were in Xabi Alonso's shoes, would you prioritize Mbappe over Vinicius Junior, or would you, or what? Actually, I'll leave that open. What would be your priorities in this context?
I think the priority for me would be to Mbappe, because he has proven that he's the best. I think he's the best player at Real Madrid. Even in full form, I think he's better than Vinicius. Even if they don't play at the same. Vinicius is a left winger. We know that Mbappe plays more than as 9, but when they are both on the pitch, it seems that they are too close on it. Because before playing as 9, Mbappe was operating as a left winger, so his habits are still there. And when they are both on the pitch, sometimes it feels like they don't understand themselves and don't know how to create spaces between them. It's difficult, and of course Vinicius will have to solve his contract issue, because it will be more tension with the days and weeks moves on. So Alonso should be focusing on Mbappe's his, for me, best player.
So Real Madrid's lead at the top of La Liga is cut to 3 points. Barca second on 28 points. Villarreal are third, 26 ahead of Atletico on 25. Are Villarreal the third best team in Spain currently?
If you are just looking at the result, I think they are. But the question is that can they keep going like that all the during all the season, because they are playing Champions League football too, so they will have to deal with everything. And Atletico, they had difficulties in the early seasons with a lot of draws, and since a few weeks they have been winning everything except from the visit to Arsenal. If I'm not mistaken, they have beating Real Madrid. They have beaten Real Madrid, Inter Milan, both Real Betis and Sevilla. So they had good results, and I think the depth of the squad is better than Villarreal's. So I think they will end up like fourth or five at the end of the season.
Well, I mean, talk about that. Villarreal do have a 6 point gap ahead of Betis in fifth.
Yeah.
So in a strong position to continue this. Right, let's move on, shall we? Over to Serie A and the sacking season. Where did I put it? Oh, yeah, here it is. So on Friday, Cremonese's title challenge is officially over as they lost away at Pisa 1-0. On to Saturday, the most Italian of Saturdays. Get ready for this. Como, 0. Cagliari, 0. Lecce, 0. Hellas Verona, 0. The Turin derby, Juventus Torino, 0-0.
As usual.
We need to talk about that, actually.
Yeah.
But no, don't interrupt me. Parma 2, AC Milan 2. AC Milan 2-0 lead against Parma and yet threw it away. On Sunday, Atalanta lost at home 3-0 to promoted Sassuolo. And that was Juric's last match in charge and has been relieved of his duties. Bologna defeated champions Napoli 2-0. Napoli had one shot on target the whole match. Oh, it was insipid. Genoa and Fiorentina 2-2. Fiorentina still can't get that win. Roma 2, Udinese 0, and Inter 2, Lazio 0. A goal from Lautaro Martinez and Barry either side of half time. Right. First of all, we'll ignore the 0-0s. Okay. Apart from one. Let's talk about 1-0. So the Turin derby, first of all, well done. It does seem like Torino have turned it around, considering their terrible start to the season, but they've stabilised and they're now comfortably away from the relegation zone. But Juventus were awful. 0-0 in this derby. Not great for them. Quick word on this, and then what I would like to talk about is AC Milan's capitulation, because that was probably worse, actually. Away at Parma, 2-0 up, and somehow not winning. Yeah, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, just a few words about the Derby della Mole, as Italian called it. Is that Juventus, even if they dominated that game, dominated in terms of possession, they really lack a playmaker, someone who can create chances, opportunities, because the strikers, it is one of the stats I look for this week. They have now gone, hear me up, 50 days without a goal from open play in Serie A. So it's terrible regarding the.
So again, let's think about they are so stacked up top as well. So we've got the new signings: Lois Openda, Jonathan David. You've got Vlahovic. There's someone else, isn't there? There's another striker there. Anyway, but that's just the strikers, not the forwards. You know, obviously they have like Yildiz and people like that.
Yeah.
But those are three strikers that would probably walk into the majority of sides across Europe, right? And yet none of them are scoring for one team. It's mad.
Yeah, that's a problem, of course, because I think Juventus they want to win the title back, because they have been in a difficult situation since now two or three seasons. So they need to win those games. And this is what Spalletti will have to deal with. I think he will have to make some choices between the Serie A and the Champions League first, because I don't think this squad can play both of them. He's been hired for the next 6 months, with his contract terminated in next June. So I think the first thing is that because Juventus play with three centre backs and two wing backs, so I think he can change the system, as he did with Napoli when they won the Scudetto, going from five defenders with the wing backs to four. I think it will be something we will see after the international break.
Sorry, we'll
Yeah,
park you there just because, again, being aware of time. So AC Milan, talk about AC Milan. Possibly the most confusing side. So top of the Serie A, Inter and Roma are on 24 points. Clean sheets galore, consistency galore. It makes sense they're up there. AC Milan and Napoli are on 22 points, with Bologna now on 21, sneaking up behind. AC Milan are undefeated since the opening day when they lost to Cremonese, which you'd think. So it does seem like, okay, so actually they're third. They are undefeated since the opening weekend. They have had some good performances and good results. I mean, there was an away draw against Juventus, away at Atalanta. They won at home against Roma. These are good results. But among that, there's also a home draw against Pisa and an away draw at Parma. It does seem that they're kind of tripping themselves up, and it doesn't quite make sense.
yeah, I think it's frustrated for the Milan supporters because, as you said, they managed to hold their own against the kind of big teams in the championship, but they struggle to win against this Parma, Pisa, Cremonese. They having won just only 2 points from 9 against these opponents. Of course, when you target to win the championship, it's not enough. You have to win these games, and I think it just demonstrates a lack of sharpness, both mentally because they need to. I think it's the most difficult games are this kind of games against promoted teams or weaker teams, and they have to take them like they're playing Inter Milan or Juventus, and of course they need to score more goals because when we always said that the third goal in a game is maybe the most important, and against Parma they scored two and they missed to score the third, and then Parma scored one and scored two to equalize, and it just can't happen for a team like Milan, and they should be able to put themselves ahead.
Yeah, good point. And next up, who do they play?
I don't know.
Inter.
Oh, okay.
So the Milan derby.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they probably performed for that. Right. Looking at the bottom of the table, so Parma just outside the relegation zone on 8 points. Genoa on 7, who recently fired their manager, Patrick Vieira. Hellas Verona in 19th on 6 points. And Fiorentina, bottom of the pile, 5 points. And finally, enough was enough this week when Pioli was relieved of his duties. He was sacked as manager of Fiorentina. I mean, we discussed this, I think, last week about should this have happened sooner? And I think now we know that yes, it should have done because it's been several weeks later and they still haven't won a game in that time, and are now how far behind? They are 4 points behind safety, which is actually not that much, really. You know, it's still within reach. But I mean, for context, that's how many points Como are behind AC Milan. You know, so when we say like that, like in a different context, like, oh yeah, we don't imagine Como will catch up to AC Milan, and yet. Yeah, I suppose the questions are like, have Fiorentina acted too late, and I suppose, do we realistically expect them to pull away because their squad is better than Hellas Verona's? It is better than Genoa's. It is better than Parma's.
Of course, and I think it's worth to note that there is a context because last year Fiorentina ended 6th in the league. They invested a lot this summer. approximately 100 million euros, if I don't say something wrong. So, of course, seeing them at the last place of the league is a tragedy, especially since they were in European final 2 years ago. They are a big team in Serie A, so they need to change things. I don't know if it's too late. I don't. I don't really think, because, as you said, there are just four points
Yeah,
between them.
I suppose the reason I bring that up is because, unlike other leagues, say for example the Premier League, Wolves are 7 points behind 19th place.
Yeah,
They are 8 points behind safety. They have 2 points all season. And yeah, Fiorentina have 5, which isn't that much more. But the difference is there's not that huge gap between them. And so to give some credit to Metz, they don't have to do a Metz just to catch up, right? They are within basically a win from touching distance, which is absolutely doable. It's just it hasn't happened yet.
yeah, they have to. Yeah, that's impressive that they haven't won a single game. But I think the quality of the squad will allow them, sorry, to get out of this situation.
Well, they certainly hope so. Okay, finally, let's move on to Das Bundesliga. On Friday, Werder Bremen defeated Wolfsburg 2-1, with Wolfsburg relieving their manager of their duties soon thereafter. On Saturday, Bayer Leverkusen had a wild old romp against Heidenheim, winning 6-0. Hamburger won, Borussia Dortmund won. Borussia Dortmund conceding in the 7th minute of stoppage time. So close to another victory, but no. Hoffenheim defeated RB Leipzig 3-1. Came from a goal down to defeat them, actually. Union Berlin, somehow, for the first time this season, Bayern Munich have not won a game. Union Berlin were excellent in their 2-2 draw against Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich needed, a worldie of a goal to open their account. Borussia Mönchengladbach win their 3rd match in a row in all competitions against Köln, against Köln, 3-1. Then on Sunday, Freiburg defeated St. Pauli 2-1. Stuttgart's good form continues as they defeated Augsburg 3-2. And Eintracht Frankfurt defeated Mainz 1-0. And yes, that's another clean sheet for Frankfurt. So the big news, first of all, Bayern Munich, and we'll talk about this quite quickly. Bayern Munich finally dropped points this season. Union Berlin took the lead in the 9th minute through Durkee. And then Luis Diaz scored one of the most unique goals I've ever seen. Did you see this goal?
Yeah, of course I did.
Would you like to talk? Would you describe it for us?
I don't know if I have the right words in English, but
well, it's kind of the beauty of it. Okay, I'll set up. So first of all, there's a 1-2 between him and Josip Stanisic. But Stanisic's return pass is too strong for Luis Diaz. So the first part of the genius is him sliding at the byline, so where it crosses for a goal line, sliding just to keep it in. His first touch takes it just perfectly away, and like he somehow touches it as he's getting up as well. And then his third touch is just to shoot the ball into the goal from an impossible angle. Like you say in the notes over here, the XG was 0.03. It was, I think, the only goal scored that had across all the major European leagues that had a tighter angle than that was a goal directly from a corner. It was that kind of angle, and yet it was much nearer the goal. It was an incredible shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And even when you look at the highlights, you can see Pavlovic's reaction to Luis Diaz. He's like, "Oh my God, what did he do?" Because firstly, his pass to Diaz wasn't good at all, and the way Luis Diaz managed to make it a good pass and then to win back the ball and adjust the goalkeeper was exceptional. And I think it will be certainly one of the goal of the year, and maybe a Puskas future.
We've had a few of those in this last couple of weeks. I was just thinking about Van der Ven's goal for Spurs in the Champions League. I think that might, but still. Is Luis Diaz the best left winger in the world right now?
It's difficult to say, but I think he's maybe underrated. We've heard this summer that he was close to to join Barcelona, or at least Deco wanted him. He put a target on his back. But to say if he is the best, because we can talk about Kvaratskhelia, of course, from PSG, even Bradley Barcola, but at the moment, I don't think they are better than him. Even Rafinha, because when he will be back at Barcelona, he had a tremendous season last season, so exceptional. But yeah, maybe he is. But no, I was just thinking about Jeremy Doku. I think he's the real deal at the moment.
Fair enough. Okay. Controversial choice, may I say. But Union Berlin were excellent in this game. They defended aggressively. But in fact, Diaz's shot that won a goal for Bayern seemed to be their first, I was going to say first opportunity of the game. It wasn't even an opportunity. But still, they clung in there. Durkee scored a second for Union Berlin after, I think the ball sort of inadvertently hit Harry Kane on the back of the head and fell into his path from a set piece. But then Harry Kane equalised in the 3rd minute stoppage time. So Bayern still undefeated, even if they didn't win every single game. But Bayern dropping points for the first time this season, opening the door ever so slightly to their rivals. But no, once again, Dortmund not grasping the opportunity. They were winning again away at Hamburger. Chukwuemeka with a goal in the second half. And then the 7th minute of stoppage time, Dortmund just see it out, close the gap to the top to 4 points, and yet they've conceded. This is indicative of Dortmund over the last 4 or 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, as usual. Not with the same consequences as their draw to Mainz 2 seasons ago, when they could have been crowned Bundesliga champion. But yeah, it's a team that is often talked about because of their bad results and the opportunities they miss. But we can also talk about Leipzig, because they also lost this weekend. They could have
against a
closed the
good
gap.
Hoffenheim side. So
Yeah,
Hoffenheim are currently 6th, but still,
yeah,
they had the chance to close the gap at the top to just 3 points. Actually, had they
yeah.
won their game. But yeah, they were routine. They were actually resoundingly defeated again, and they were leading, and they somehow gave it up. And that does speak volumes about Bayern's mentality. The fact that they were able to come from behind twice, and yet Dortmund and Leipzig capitulated.
Yeah, of course, and especially since Dortmund Bayern had a difficult game midweek with the PSG's victory over PSG. Sorry, so they are, I think, the best team in the world at the moment, and they just prove it week after week. Even if they don't, when you can't win a game, you just have to know how to not lose it. And Bayern, I think they know that better than anyone.
But are they the best team in the world currently? Officially, currently it's Chelsea. That very important
For 4 years.
Yeah. Anywho, so let's go to Tess's tops and flops. So, do you have a tops and flops?
Yeah, my flops. My flop of the week is the refereeing in France, because it's been this season particularly. I think they are every weekend, I will not say every game, but almost there a controversy. And Corentin Tolisso, so we've talked about him earlier in the show. He made a video on Instagram asking for the team's captain, directors, and the referee to sit down around the table and talk about, because the situation is getting worse and worse in France concerning the refereeing, and I think it's a good idea. But the actors of the game must talk to try to solve these problems. And do you have a top or?
Give me a top. So, guys, let's end with you.
I don't really have a top, but maybe it would be Manchester City because they sent a message to Arsenal by beating Liverpool. I think they will be a really, really tough team to beat this season.
Yeah, it looks like it's a 12-team title challenge in the Premier League.
Yeah.
My flops. I mean, I'm going to say my flops, and I'm biased because I'm a fan. Newcastle United, another away day defeat, another miserable performance on the road, and they are down. What is it? 14th on 12 points. I mean, they're only 2 points ahead of the relegation zone. Talk about gaps in the Premier League. There's a 4-point gap between first and second. Then there's nothing more than a point gap between third place and Everton in 14th. And then there's a 3-point gap between them and Newcastle. So there are only 2 gaps. Well, 3 if you include Wolves being behind Forest. So yeah, Newcastle again, awful performance. It's quite strange, home and away, such 2 different teams. Tops, strangely, I'm going to give one, but I don't actually know his name. The Bologna goalkeeper, if anyone doesn't know the story. So I think he's the Bologna goalkeeper. Their starting goalkeeper got injured quite early on, and the substitute was a 17-year-old who came on for his full debut against the champions Napoli. And Napoli, as I said earlier, only got 1 shot on target throughout the entire match. But at the full-time whistle, the young lad broke down in tears because God only knows how tense he must have been. Like in the fact that he had to come on as well in such a situation, as opposed to being told beforehand. And then all of the Bologna players surround him, can carry him on their shoulders. It's the most it was a heartwarming moment. It was very, very nice. Do you have a stat of the week you want to end with?
Yeah, I got one and a question for you. So just for the start, it's Inigo Perez, so the manager of Rayo Vallecano. He earned himself a slice of history this weekend because he became the first coach of in Rayo Vallecano's history to avoid defeat in 3 different matches against Real Madrid. So it's unbelievable for a club, and it's yeah. And my quiz question is: do you know? I think you know, but do you know who is Serie A's top scorer and how many goals he had scored this season?
Serie A's?
Yeah.
Oh, I do know this. I do know this. That's annoying. I won't get it. It's like Eke Akpong or something like that, but I can't quite get it. Who is it?
The biggest point is not who is it. It's Hakan Çalhanoğlu from Inter. But
how is it?
Yeah, but the amount of the top goal scorer
3, 4?
No, 5 in Serie A. Yeah, so and we have played 11 games. Comparing to Erling Haaland is 14 goals.
I was going to say, and actually, I think 2 or 3 of those are penalties as well, and he's a midfielder. So it doesn't speak volumes about that. But hey, you know what? You don't get 3 back-to-back 0-0s in every single league, you know. Right, we're going to end it there. End it there. Thank you so much for joining me, Leo.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us who are watching live. For those of you watching afterwards, make sure you look at the X accounts, the YouTube account, subscribe, follow us, etc., all of that nonsense. I hope you all have a great week. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.